everyone. My name is Denise White, and I am the host of the Coffee in the Greenroom podcast. I am so excited about this podcast because you know what? Real conversations don't happen out in public. They happen in the green room. And that's exactly what this podcast is all about. Today, I am so excited to have Yun Rhee here on the podcast. Yun, thank you so much for being here.
Oh my God, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful and honored to be here with you today, Denise.
You're welcome. So, Yun, you and I were just talking a little bit ago about how each and every one of us has a superhero inside of us. So before we start talking about that, though, can you tell my audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm actually the Chief Empowering Officer and Energy Expert with the Elevated Human Experience. And my purpose and goal in life is to teach others about energy and paradigms so that they can truly understand that we are magical beings on a magical planet where thoughts become things. And our journey of life is to unlock those magic inside of us and express it to the entire world.
I love that so much. So speaking of magical beings, let's talk about this. So I believe that, and you and I share this belief that inside each and every one of us, there's a superhero waiting to come out. And like that doesn't mean necessarily we're gonna have to throw on our capes or bust out our lassos of truth. But can you talk a little bit about how does one find that superhero inside of themselves?
You know, it's so amazing because I'm a huge believer that not only the superpowers, but we have so much genius inside of us. Even if we decided to commit a whole lifetime to find all of those given talents, we wouldn't even be able to scratch on the surface of it. That's how gifted each individual human being are on this entire planet. And yet we've been conformed. We've been conformed to squeeze into a box. We've been conformed to show up in a certain way through society. We've been conformed to show up in a certain way because of our parents or our family or our spouses or our children or school or our work, right? So a lot of times, like myself, I didn't even know who I was. I didn't even know who I was living a life. I didn't realize I was showing up for everybody else. So I didn't even get a chance to even scratch on the surface of my superpowers. And truth be told, I always tell people I love this journey of personal growth because the more I know, the more I don't know. And what I mean by that is I am so curious as to what more can I be? You know, what else am I capable of? What other ideas can I have that I can express to the entire world? So going back, every single human has superpowers and geniuses inside of them. And it really starts with three things. And the three things that I really want to talk about is number one, giving themselves permission, right? For so long, I didn't even realize that I didn't give myself permission. So by saying, I give myself permission to discover more of who I am, I give myself permission to want what I want. Wow. Even if I don't know what it is that I want, just to say, I want what I want, right? So starting to give ourselves permission. The second thing is then learning how to make decisions. And I want to stop here for a second. Decisions. When we truly realize that in life, you can never get it wrong because you can never get it done. See, we've been programmed to go through life to reach a certain goal or something. But the truth of the matter is the entire goal is to enjoy the journey of life, right? That's the goal. You know, the goal is really to enjoy the journey along the way and discover who you are, what you're capable of. So learning how to make decisions and understanding, you can't get it wrong because you can never get it done, right? So experience it. And if you make a decision that may not serve you, it's only giving you feedback. It's giving you feedback to saying, oh, let me pivot, right? And if you make a great decision that serves you, you're like, wow, great, right? But if we think about an airplane that flies to a specific destination, the accuracy is only 3%. 3%. 97% of the time, all it's doing is adjusting to get to its final destination. So if we can think about that way in our human life, can you imagine that, listen, all I need to do is make a decision, I'm going forward. That's it. Because our entire purpose in life is to grow. As humans, is to grow. And as humans, we are goal-seeking organisms that want to grow. Yeah. So if we just say, hey, I want a better life and I'm aiming north, then just know that you're heading north, but don't be so married to the plan. Because a higher power has such greater plans than your mind can even imagine. And the third thing that's so important, so permission, decisions. The third thing is habits. Habits. And habits come really from spaced repetition.
Yeah.
Spaced repetition. So believe it or not, our current environment and our current reality that we live in is really because of our past decisions and habits,
Yeah, of course.
right? So we can understand that habit's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. And we can take a self-evaluation and say, what habits are serving me, and
Hmm.
continue doing that? What habits are not serving me? And then release those habits. And more importantly, don't try to fix any habits. Those, you don't need fixing. What you really want to do is create a new habit so that the habit that doesn't serve you gets quieted down. Because the more we try to focus on stopping the habit, the harder it becomes to stop the habit, and the more that the habit tends to grow in front of our face.
Yeah.
Right. So it literally is, okay, what habits will serve me? And then create a system and a structure for it, and then allow your body to show up for you to do it.
That's awesome. That kind of reminds me of Atomic Habits, because every place that you are is the result of a micro decision that you made. And a lot of times people too, they think, oh, well, I'm not going to make that decision. By not making a decision to change, or by not making a decision to stop one habit and start a new one, you're making a decision. So I love that concept. So talk to me a little bit about, because habits are, talk to me a little bit about how, say I have a bad habit of um just indecision. Okay, let's just go because one of your three was decision. So I have a bad habit of struggling to make decisions, so I procrastinate on making decisions. Can you talk a little bit about how to how to shift that habit?
Absolutely, 100%. So one of the biggest reasons why people procrastinate on making decisions is because based out of fear. Everything in life, everything on this entire planet actually lives by the laws of the universe. So one of the laws that I would love to discuss is the law of transmutation of energy, right? That means that every bit of energy, which everything in this entire planet is energy, which is vibration, frequency, but energy is constantly moving, it's transmutating over time, always. So the reason why we tend to procrastinate is because of the fact that we're living in fear. And the reason why we're in fear is because we actually have thoughts of worries and doubt, right? Thoughts of worries and doubt. I'm going to actually, before that, so procrastination stems from anxiety. And
Yeah.
the feelings of anxiety actually results from the emotion of fear. And the emotion of fear stems from literally worries and doubts, like negative talking in our head. You can't do that. What if you fail if you do that? Well, what are other people going to think of you, or whatever the case is, right? But the worries and doubts and negative thinking actually stems from ignorance. It stems from ignorance. And ignorance is not a good thing or a bad thing. All it's stating is that I've never been there before. I've never done it. And because I have never physically done it, or I have never experienced it, it goes into my mind of that inner talk. Well, what if you fail? What are other people going to think? You don't know how to do it, or whatever the case is, right? Which causes the fear, which causes anxiety, which causes procrastination. Well, so the easiest way to kick procrastination and start making decisions is if we know that it stems from ignorance. The opposite of ignorance is actually knowledge. So how do you gain knowledge? Well, you gain knowledge through study and understanding. Yeah. So you can actually study other people that are living the lives that you want. So you start studying it, right? And you can study it in books, you can watch them, observe them. And now on YouTube, go to find YouTube videos and find out what they're doing that got them there. And then one of our most powerful tools in our intellectual factors is imagination. And everybody in your audience should be loving this, because, I mean, think about it, right? The entertainment business, it's all because of imaginations. So unlock your imagination and ask yourself, well, what would it look like if I did accomplish that? What would it look like if I was a top model, walking on runway? What would it feel like when I win an award because I was, the best actor or actress on this, show or movie or whatever the case is? You can get into the imagination of it, and all of a sudden it actually excites you to want to study. You start actually getting positive thinking around it. Yeah. Then the emotion of fear no longer exists, and it turns into faith. Wow. Because fear and faith are both emotions caused by the unknown. Yeah. Right? So now we feel faith. All of a sudden our body starts to want to accelerate, and then it starts taking action. And that's how we start moving into action versus procrastination, because now we're excited about it and we can take inspired action, right? So it really starts with understanding how we work on our mind and in our hearts. Like logic can make us think, but it's our emotions that make us act. So no matter how much we may want to do something, if we're feeling bad about ourselves or we're feeling bad about the situation, it becomes extremely difficult to force our bodies to move,
Yeah.
right? So then it's gaining that knowledge, kicking that imagination, study other people that are doing that, you're doing what you're doing. Surround yourself with people that are going to empower you,
Yeah.
empower you. Then your energy gets higher and higher, your vibration gets higher and higher, and then you start to accelerate and take action.
I love that so much. I know I study Tony Robbins, and one of the things that he asks when he's having people change their habits or change their beliefs, he's like, okay, well, if you were the type of person that, we'll just use procrastination. If you were the type of person that didn't procrastinate, what would that person look like? What is that person's name? And I think we can all do that. Since we started off with superheroes, one of the things we like to do is when you walk into a room, take your superhero pose, whatever that means. Like, what pose do you take? How do you stand when you feel the most confidence? Take that pose. So imagine if everyone listening to this podcast were like, okay, you know what? There's a superhero inside of me. This is his name. This is her name. And this is how they act. And then they start employing imagination, and then they start doing research and they get excited about it. Imagine the empowerment that could go on just if one person takes action on that. It'll create a ripple effect. Imagine if every person who ever listens to this podcast, all of a sudden we have a whole team of superheroes out ready to like slay their goals and do amazing things, and like you said, enjoy the journey on the way. Because one thing I see with a lot of actors and models, they're like, okay, I want to win an Academy Award, but they're not enjoying the journey on the way to get there. Like, oh my God, I have to do another audition. Oh my gosh, I have to memorize these lines. I can't do this. I can't do that. But what if instead of you picture yourself with that Academy Award, you picture yourself with that Grammy, and then all of a sudden you start taking action to get yourself there, whatever that means. And I love something else that you said, Yun, about doing research, because something we teach our talent about is it's called a Dream 100. And one of the things we ask them to do is like find one person that you really admire and examine their career. Where are they, but where did they start? And how can you then recreate that journey? So and enjoying the journey makes it so much easier, doesn't it?
It is. And think about it. And everybody that's listening, whether it was, whether you labeled it a small goal or a big goal, when you accomplished that, did you stop? No, because at the end of the day, we as humans want to grow. So
Yeah.
when we get to a goal, we find another goal. So if you really believe, because nothing on this planet is, ever still. There's no such thing as stagnant. You're either growing or you're dying, one or the other. Right. And the truth of the matter is we all want to grow. Like that's what gives us the most joy. And going back to like studying, we actually teach our clients that like the self-image board. So anybody that you can witness outside of you, that you're like, oh my God, look at how amazing this person is. Well, you can only recognize that because that quality exists inside of you. So all you have to do is, we're not asking you to become that specific person, but embody those characteristics. So a homework exercise we have people do is take like a picture of 8 to 10 people that you admire and label out the characteristics why you admire them. And then have it on your phone or have it in a poster board. So you're constantly watching these people and you can actually see the characteristics that you love. And then what happens is the more we put energy to that, it actually transmutates inside of us over time, right? It's so beautiful. I think about this, especially with technology and video games, or even cell phones. We always get the option to create avatars. What do you want your hair to look like? What kind of glasses? What kind of smile, right? Like all of these things. We get a choice to do that every day, to build our own avatar, because we are not our labels. We are not our name. We're not just a daughter and a mother or a son and a father or a brother or a sister. We're actually the creator of it all.
Yeah.
Right. So we can create any characters we want to, and we have a lifetime to create as many infinite characters we want to.
Talk about empowering.
It's
Like,
so true, though. I just want this to, like, especially our younger all of us, older generation, now younger generation. I just want people to utilize their imagination and tap into their geniuses because, oh, what do we have? Over 8 billion people on this entire planet, and not one single person can ever be the same as another. Every
yeah,
single human on this entire planet has uniqueness and genius inside of them that can never, ever, ever be replaced. And if people ever believe that and surrounded themselves with other people that believe that, can you imagine? Can you? Because I can imagine and I see it, how much we can grow and co create together.
we could solve every problem on earth if and I love that because you know what, like something that we talk to our talent about all the time is you have to be unique. You have to be uniquely you because you know what, like I would feel terrible if there was a whole world of Denise. Like the world would come to a grinding halt if everyone looked just like me or everyone looked just like you. But what I love is that if every person would just own themselves, meaning like own that creativity, own your quirkiness, own all of those little things that make you you, but then take that superhero pose and like really embody that because you know what? I truly believe this. I believe I'm a person of faith, so I believe that there's the fingerprint of God on every person. Imago Dei. I believe
Yes,
every person has the fingerprint of God on them, and no one is a mistake.
I
No one
agree
is
with you.
here as a mistake. So if I wish I don't want to say wish because wishing is very passive. My hope, my goal is that every person who hears the sound of our voices today understands that you're not a mistake. You're here on purpose. And there's a superpower inside of you that the world needs. So instead of shrinking back from your power, lean into your power. And the world would be the world needs your power.
You said it so beautifully. It is so true. If everyone that's listening to that can fully understand that God does not make any mistakes at all. And you said something so profound. You said, then we wouldn't have any problems, right? We wouldn't have any problems. See, I'm a huge believer that it's not a domestic violence problem. It's not a drug addiction problem. It's not a sex problem. We have a humanity problem.
Yeah.
And if we fixed humanity problem, meaning we learned how to love on ourselves and love on each other, then all of those other things would be more quote unquote utilized as pleasure or whatever the case is with both consent or whatever. But a lot of it comes from judgment, right?
Yeah.
We're so afraid to be our true selves because we're so afraid to be judged.
Yeah.
And yet I'm a huge believer. I use this thing as a reference. You know, remember Crayola when they first came out, there was only like 4 colors.
Yeah.
Well, now how many colors are there?
I have no idea. Bazillions.
Bazillions. Well, that's like us as humans. We're just growing and growing and growing in more and more abundance, right? So now we are able to create colors that are beyond our imagination and they're going to continue to grow. And so if we can say that we can look at our outer world almost like a filter, right? A filter for us to discover more of who we are and what we are. So when we see other people doing things that we like, that lines with us. That's more of who we are. When we see other people doing the things that we don't like, it actually tells us, okay, that's not who we are. We like the other thing, but it's not our place to judge them. It's not
Yeah.
our place to, because other people should have their own rights to do whatever it is that they want, that they love, right? As long
Yeah.
as it's not hurting anyone. God's rules,
Yeah.
right? God's rules. Love on yourself, treat others like you want to be treated, right? Don't step on others to get ahead. There's
Yeah.
certain specific rules that you want to live by. But other than that, if they're not hurting anyone, let them be in no judgment.
Yeah.
All it is to filter through your mind of more of discovery of who you are and what you're capable of.
Yeah. But this is a beautiful thing. Like I truly believe that someone is going to listen to this podcast and they're going to give themselves permission to be fully who they are. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Well, I would love to keep talking to you, but I feel like we've hit the spot with this podcast. I feel like there's someone literally, I truly believe that we're going to hear from people that are going to listen to this podcast and they're gonna be like, you know what? Thank you for allowing me to give myself permission to be who I am. So
Yes. And remember those 3 things, right? The 3
yeah.
things is permission, decisions, and habits. Because we do not get to create our future. We don't. It's our decisions and our habits that do. And yet when we give ourselves permission first, then we get to really allow ourselves to live our best life. So permission, decisions, and habits.
Awesome. Well, Yun, if someone is listening and they want to get in contact with you, how can they get in contact with you?
They can actually go to, they have my name and email, phone number, but if they don't see that, they can go to www.elevatedhumanexperience.com, as well as find me on any socials under Yun Rhee, YUNRHEE. And please reach out to me or reach out to anyone, but most importantly, just know that you deserve happiness. You deserve to live a life that you desire, and really shut that noise off and start taking some action and really allow yourself to believe in you. And if you can't believe in yourself right now, I hope you take my words and just believe that Deneen and I believe in you. Deneen and I believe in you and believe that you deserve it.
Well, Yun, thank you so much. So beautiful.
Thank you.
And anyone listening, if you want to hear more of the Coffee in the Green Room podcast, make sure you hit subscribe. We are on anywhere you can find podcasts. You will be able to find us, and make sure that you do subscribe, because I have so many more amazing interviews coming up. But thank you very much for being here. And Yun, again, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been my honor.